NTV News at 5 starts with breaking news. Right now, Iran officials say they've launched a missile operation against U.S. bases in the Middle East. Now, this is video from Qatar, where just hours ago, missiles filled the night sky heading toward the U.S. base outside Doha, in a major escalation of the war in the Middle East. Thank you for joining us tonight at 5. I'm Yolanda Harris.
And I'm Angela Ann. So today's move is in response to U.S. military strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. That happened over the weekend. A lot has developed over the past few hours, but here is what we do know tonight. Officials in Qatar say they have successfully intercepted the missile attack at the U.S. airbase outside Doha. And this is the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. A senior Trump administration official says the White House and the Department of Defense are closely monitoring potential threats to the base. And this move follows a U.S. strike on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. So look at these satellite images tonight. They show what President Donald Trump describes as monumental damage to those nuclear sites.
We devastated the Iranian nuclear program. But it's worth noting the operation did not target Iranian troops or the Iranian people.
The Trump administration was expecting Iran to retaliate, and they say some American planes were moved out of the airbase last week in preparation. So tonight, multiple commercial flights have now been diverted because of the airspace closures. We're also hearing tonight from Ohio leaders on the federal and state levels. They've been watching these developments very closely.
They're keeping an eye on the impacts overseas and the potential impacts and threats here in Ohio. 10 TV political reporter Doug Petcash has been reaching out to leaders today about the U.S. airstrikes in Iran and now Iran's retaliation. And Doug, what are they saying about this?
Well, Yolanda and Angela, Ohio's federal leaders on both sides of the aisle agree Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They disagree on the president ordering strikes on Iranian nuclear sites without congressional approval. Meantime, Governor Mike DeWine is focused on potential impacts on our state, especially in light of Iran's strikes in Qatar today.
We always are concerned about any kind of retaliation, and we don't know. So,
do you have any specific threats or anything that you've heard of, Governor?
No, nothing specific. No.
Governor Mike DeWine says his responsibility is to look inward to the state of Ohio and what needs to be done here. He said Ohio Department of Public Safety Director Andy Wilson has been in contact with people who might potentially be vulnerable.
That was frankly, our first reaction, first thing that we can do.
DeWine would not get specific about that or about security measures, saying it wouldn't be wise.
But we certainly work very closely with the federal government in regard to security. And that's ongoing and will continue to be ongoing.
We reached out to our U.S. senators and representatives for interviews today. None were available. They did release statements. In a statement given exclusively to 10 TV, Congressman Mike Carey said in part a nuclear-armed Iran is an existential threat and America needs to remain strong in the face of Iran's terrorist regime and ensure our service members, civilians, and national interests remain protected. Before Iran's retaliatory strikes in Qatar, Democratic Congresswoman Joyce Beatty said a nuclear-armed Iran is a serious threat to regional and global security. She went on to say President Trump's unilateral action, taken without the constitutionally required approval of Congress, puts U.S. troops across the region in harm's way and risks drawing our nation into another war in the Middle East. Senator John Husted said in the absence of meaningful diplomacy from Iran, the president has taken appropriate action to prevent the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism from producing these weapons. And Senator Bernie Moreno said in part, President Trump gave and is still giving Iran an opportunity to make a deal. We don't seek conflict, endless wars, and rich elites and harm our working class. And as we mentioned, the governor talking about Department of Public Safety Director Andy Wilson and what he's been doing since all this started. The Ohio Department of Public Safety said they are in contact with law enforcement partners on the federal, state, and local levels, focused on the safety and security of Ohio citizens. Angela?
All right, Doug, thank you so much. Of course, we know this is rapidly developing, so we will continue to follow this story tonight and online. You can stay up to date, keep it right here on 10 TV, and also download the 10 TV News app for the latest updates.